we can go from there.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you again, Thembi. Am I saying it right, or is the H silent? Okay.
There's a story there. I'll usually tell people like that technically, yes, the H is silent. But when I learned that at about age 11, I told my dad, he was just like, no, your H isn't silent. So I said, okay. But I do, anybody from the continent or from the Caribbean will, Thembi. I'll be like, yes,
Thembi,
hi, that's me.
Yeah. No, I wasn't too sure. I know the H is silent. So I was like, wait, does she say Thembi or Thembi? Oh.
Yeah, I used to say Thembi.
Oh, okay.
For dad.
For Papa, yes. Okay, let's start off. If we can just get your name and the spelling of your name and what it is that you do.
Great. So my name is Thembi Duncan, and my name is spelled T-H-E-M as in Mary, B-I. Last name is D-U-N-C-A-N. And I'm the Director of Arts Engagement and Education at Shays Performing Arts Center.
Okay, great. Okay, so the first question that I have for you is, how has the pandemic affected live entertainment for Shays?
For Shays, the pandemic has caused us to go very, very far down in terms of programs and revenue than where we started before the pandemic. As you think about ticket sales and different organizations, different entertainment venues have different models, different funding models, and different ticket models. What's interesting about us is that we're a nonprofit organization. A lot of people don't know that we're a nonprofit. They think, oh, wow, Shays has tons of money. Look at all these people in here. But our funding model is not what I think a lot of people think it is, which is just raking the cash from ticket sales. We are a nonprofit and we benefit from foundations in the area. We benefit from some revenue from mostly concessions, but we do not hold on to all of the revenue from the tickets that come through unbeknownst to most people, which makes it difficult for them to understand, like, hey, venues can open at partial capacity. Let's go, Shays. Well, we can't. We have to, in order to be feasible for tours, we have to be upwards of 90% full. And so you can imagine the complications that causes, because it's been over a year at this point where we could have that many people in our venue. And that's really when you're talking about Broadway tours, that doesn't include rentals and other events that we have. So it's been a difficult year in that we have not had any events on our stages. But as I mentioned, we're a nonprofit and we've got a number of community programs, which is the department that I oversee. And we've been able to do some virtual programming, including virtual summer camps. We've also been able to continue our work with the police department, which was really exciting because we were able to do our body language training masked. We were also able to continue relationships with community partners that we plan to just carry right on into the return. So in addition to that, we have been able to stream both shows for our community and for local schools. Like, for instance, Newsies, Disney's Newsies will be streaming for a number of Title I schools in the Western New York region, because we were able to offer that through Disney, in addition to some shows that we were able to offer on the general patron level to our season ticket holders, as well as all ticket buyers and community members in Western New York. So we've been trying to manage around not being able to get folks on our stages. It has not been easy, but we're grateful for the opportunity to rethink the way things can be done and reimagine a new world. Was that a long answer to a nice, concise question?
That was perfect. That was
okay. Thank you. So I had to contextualize, right? I had to
It seems like even though you guys have been closed, that you've still been pretty busy looking at alternative ways to do programming and to reach the community, and that's awesome.
Thank you. It's hard work, but we relish it. We welcome it because it's important to us in terms of moving forward. The past 20 years have really been about restoring the beautiful Shays Buffalo space. The coming years are going to be about just bringing more awareness to our full campus, Shays Smith Theater, Shays 710 Theater, and really helping people understand that we are bigger than just an event or one show, that we bring all types of entertainment, but we also have outward facing programs that we do not only on the Shays campus of 3 theaters and spaces, but also out in the communities with community members. So as soon as everybody's vaccinated, we can get out there.
Yeah, and get back in. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of the of Shay's indoors, are you able to talk about any improvements or changes that have been made structurally to Shay's since the pandemic?
And so I'm assuming that you're asking about HVAC and things like that, COVID related things, because what's interesting, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say what's interesting is that our restoration consultant, Doris Collins, continues to lead her team in taking care of lots of things that wouldn't have been possible in the same way if we'd had people in the theater this whole time. So they've been able to do long-term projects that we've had to hold off on. They've been able to really get them done. There are areas in our grand lobby, in our petite lobby, and in our auditorium that needed to be touched up, that needed to be repaired, needed to be enhanced. We like to call it Shayzifying. Going around and making sure that the place looks ornate and according to the original photos from the 1926 opening. So we're excited about that. And she's an absolute expert in this work, and she leads the charge in keeping Shay's Buffalo quite beautiful. We've also been doing some work on Shay's Smith and Shay's 710 as well. Again, emphasizing the three spaces. But Shay's Buffalo is the space that people are most familiar with right now. We're hoping that as time comes, they are able to experience all that we have to offer in all three of our spaces. We have been working very hard on getting those spaces up to snuff. We have been and will be following every single New York State and Erie County protocol for sanitation, as well as for spacing when that time comes, whenever that time comes, that we are able to bring people back. So we're keeping our fingers crossed, but we're hoping that the community does its part in wearing a mask and getting vaccinated.
Yes, absolutely. And just one more question.
Sure.
Do you know what artists and performers are doing to get by since they can't perform and be on the stage?
So that's a really interesting question, because there's a variety of responses there. So you've got some artists, for instance, on the level of folks who have done Broadway shows for decades in some cases, are now considering, I think I'd like to do something different. And they're okay with that. They feel comfortable with that. But then you have other folks who are at the very start of their career who are like, wait a second, I was just onto something. And so it's been kind of hard for those folks. They have been finding, ways to get by. Mainly creating virtual work, creating work through TikTok. I'm sure you've seen the great Ratatouille musical and everything. Folks are using online platforms to express themselves and share their talent. But it has been difficult in that really our industry was just practically decimated in a matter of moments. And we've been clinging to each other as artists and as arts administrators to just keep hope going forward. There have been lots of virtual readings and lots of virtual theater and performance, but nothing compares to a shared experience in a space with other people. So actors have been really just hanging in there as best they could until they can get back. What I will say, though, is there's a lot of incubation happening. There's a lot of reflection. There's a lot of anti-racism work happening at a lot of theaters across the country that has been, in the theater world, there was a very comprehensive document called We See You, White American Theater, that a number of BIPOC, that's Black, Indigenous, and people of color artists put together. That was a series of demands of anti-racism and inclusion for a lot of the primarily white institutions across the country, and just things that were really important that people wanted to see getting done. And just maybe I would want to say within the past couple of weeks, there's been a report of what a lot of theaters have done. So it shows that a lot of folks really are recognizing the importance of this racial equity work, and they're putting their money and their efforts where their mouths are and getting work done. So what you will see from the theater end coming out of the other end of this pandemic is a lot more racial equity. You'll see a lot more people of BIPOC, as we call them at this point, in positions of making decisions, in positions of influencing the kind of work you see. We hope that change will be kind of like the curb cut effect for people with disabilities, which is in the case where the curb cuts that you see that you can just kind of roll up if you have a wheelchair and not have to get it up on the curb, helps everybody. I use curb cuts all the time and I don't use a wheelchair. So we're hoping that the racial equity work that gets done also has that same effect and allows us all to benefit from long overdue racial equity work.
I think that's such a positive. There's not really much that can be said positive about the pandemic, but this is definitely a positive outcome that has come from the pandemic. So that's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. We're really excited about it. I mean, we won't be able to really see the impact until years away from now, but it looks positive. There are a lot of folks who are really engaging in a deep, thoughtful conversation in a way that has never happened. And I've been in this field at about this point about 20 years, and I've never seen the depth of conversation and just across so many organizations as I've seen today. So I'm really hopeful that along with new ways of governing, new ways of recruiting boards, new ways of even creating art, we'll take these new innovations with us. So that's, I think, the biggest value that the artists have right now, as long as obviously they're prioritizing self-care, right? There's a saying that has developed that's like, a pandemic is not a residency. So it's not an arts residency, and the expectation is not that artists should be able to create wonderful work. This is a crisis. However, when they are able to do so, you're going to see a lot of really innovative work coming out of this time. That's what I'm predicting.
Well, we are excited to see what Shays has in store, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule. I know you're super busy, and just like that is just so much you guys are doing. Like, I didn't even think that you guys were still actively doing as much work, probably more work than you've done pre-pandemic. So
we've been working pretty hard. But thank you for recognizing that, and happy to come back anytime to check in, let you know how things are going.
Yes, thank you. Oh my God, we would love to have you back. Thank you so much, Thembi.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Have a good day.
All right, you too.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
That was so good.
That was. You did great stuff.
You said a lot. Bijou.